अच्छा ठीक है, चलो करें, लाइव कर दो मुझे सीधा। हाँ ऐसे कैसे चलेगा क्लास? हाँ हाँ ऐसे कैसे से चलेगा ये? स्टार्ट करें? किसको? हाँ हाँ ready. Good morning and welcome everyone. We had some technical issue, but we are back. And in this KVPY series, again, it is the class for biology. And today we will be mainly again looking on the theoretical aspect, okay? Because we have already done a lot of question discussion. We are looking on the theoretical perspective. Now, in the previous class, what we were doing is breathing and exchange of gases, correct? That was the second part of the human physiology. And during that class, we have already finished the first aspect of it, that is breathing, right? Inhalation, exhalation, mechanism of it, what are different volumes, respiratory capacities. This all we have already covered in the previous class. Now let me know if any of you have any doubt regarding that, or whatsoever we have covered in this KVPY biology series. Do let me know, we will discuss it. And the agenda for today's class is we are going to look on the mechanism of exchange of gases, okay? So what happens once the air is inhaled, it reaches into the alveoli, then how this exchange between the alveolar air and the blood is going to take place. Okay. At the same time, we are also going to discuss how the exchange of gases occurs at the tissue level. Okay. So at the tissue between blood and the tissue cells. Right. This is first thing. And if time permits, then we are also going to start the circulatory system. Okay. So do let me know. Okay. Let me check. Switch off this sound. Speakers. Huh. 0. Okay, great. Agrim, do let me know if the voice is okay. अब आवाज ठीक से आ रही है आप लोगों को? अब ठीक से आ रही है? Okay, so what we are going to do is firstly exchange of gases. Okay, exchange of gases. Okay, great. So exchange of gases, देखो, once the air reaches into alveoli, so this is one alveoli I have drawn here, okay? What happens around the alveoli, there is a capillary network, okay? So instead of all, I am just making one blood vessel here, okay? Consider it as a capillary. Okay, this is how blood gets in. So यहाँ पे देखो अंदर में यहाँ पे क्या है, you have the alveoli, this is alveoli, और इसके अंदर क्या होगा, there will be alveolar air. इसके अंदर जो air है उसको हमने क्या बोला, alveolar air. Okay, so once you inspire, the air comes in, right? And in the previous class we have already discussed that the inhaled air has higher partial pressure of oxygen, correct? देखो जो inhaled air है, यहाँ पे मैं लिख देता हूँ inhaled air, इसके अंदर नाइट्रोजन वगैरह सब कुछ होगा, है ना? It's complete air. It's complete air. Now in this air, if we look at the partial pressure of O2, oxygen, it is 159. Okay. What about partial pressure of CO2 in the inhaled air, in the alveoli? It is 40 mm of Hg. This is all in mm of Hg. You know what I mean. Great. So this is inhaled air. Now, so this inhaled air has partial pressure of 159 here, correct? Sorry, 104, not 104. 159 is in the atmospheric air. 104, okay? And PCO2 at 40. Now, let's talk about the deoxygenated blood. So here you have deoxygenated blood. Okay, and in the deoxygenated blood, partial pressure of O2 is very low. How much? It is 40. And partial pressure of CO2, it is 45. Everything is in the millimeter of mercury. Great. Now let's see what is going to happen here. Since there is a gradient, now what is going to happen is oxygen is going to come in O2 and CO2 is going to move out, correct? As a result, now this blood will have more of oxygen and less of CO2, and such a blood is called oxygenated blood. This is called oxygenated blood, and the partial pressure of O2 in oxygenated blood is 95, okay? And partial pressure of CO2 is 40. समझ में आ रहा है? तो ये conversion हुआ यहाँ पे because of exchange of gases, okay? What will happen? Now, if we look here in this alveolar air, तो blood तो deoxygenated से oxygenated हो गया, correct? लेकिन ये जो extra CO2 निकला है, वो कहाँ गया है? In this air, correct? Which has to be exhaled. Now here the PCO2 value is going to increase up to 45 and PO2 value has decreased क्योंकि ये इसमें चला गया है. अब ये decrease होकर के कितना हो जाएगा in the alveolar air? It will get back to 40. And this air is now going to be exhaled. So this is going to be the exhaled air. समझ में आ रहा है? इसीलिए हम लोग बोलते हैं exhaled air is rich in CO2. It has more CO2, less oxygen. Correct? Now, exhaled air is also going to have water vapors. A good amount of water vapors. तो ये चीज़ आप लोग याद रखेंगे. Got it? So this exchange of gas is purely, देखो, जो यहाँ पे exchange of gases हो रहा है, is purely by diffusion. It is purely by diffusion. So it is what? A passive process. No energy is required. It is purely by diffusion. And since it is diffusion, it is as per concentration gradient. it is as per concentration gradient. Got it? इसमें कोई डाउट है आप लोगों को बेटा? Do let me know. Sushweta, Agrim, Akhil, Abhivir, है ना? Do look at it and let me know if you have any doubt in it. Now again, from the KVPY perspective, it's better if you keep in mind these partial pressure values, but you don't have to necessarily memorize them. Just keep in mind, okay? And this is purely for your understanding. ऐसे होता है diffusion. Okay, great. Now let's see. Once you know that there is diffusion from the alveolar air into the blood, okay? तो चलो अब हम लोग blood के बारे में बात करते हैं. Suppose, just a minute. मैं एक बड़ा सा ऐसे blood vessel ले लेता हूँ, okay? This is a blood vessel. Got it? Now, half part is I have drawn in blue and half in red. क्यों? Half जहाँ तक blue है, it is denoting the capillary having deoxygenated blood, and the red part is denoting the pure or oxygenated blood. ठीक है? Oxygenation का process यहाँ पे हम लोग देखेंगे. अब देखो, जहाँ पे deoxygenated blood है, उसमें क्या होता है? बाहर से आपका ऑक्सीजन is going to come in O2, okay, and this O2 they can I'll come on that अखिल, है ना? फटाफट हम लोग आएंगे उस पे. इस पे से क्वेश्चन बहुत सारे पूछे जाते हैं, है ना? और जितने भी बायोलॉजी रिलेटेड कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स होते हैं उनसे ह्यूमन फिजियो से देयर कुड बी एन नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, ओके? KVPY has not really touched a lot from this topic yet, but you never know, they can really ask. Why? Because even in class 10th you have this topic. Class 10th का जो आपका फर्स्ट चैप्टर होता है बायोलॉजी का लाइफ प्रोसेसेस, उसमें रेस्पिरेशन है, circulatory system है, okay? So they can really expand a little bit on the 10th syllabus and they can jump on these topics to have questions from it. ठीक है? इसलिए इसको आप थोड़ा ध्यान से देखेंगे. O2 comes in, right? So this O2 was in the gaseous state. Okay, this was in the air. Now this O2, when it comes into the blood, it comes firstly in plasma, okay, and it gets in the dissolved form. कहाँ आया? Dissolved form में. अब क्या होगा? This O2 will then enter into the RBC. ये क्या है आपका? This is RBC. Consider it as RBC. Okay? अब देखो होता क्या है, जितना भी ऑक्सीजन आया है, okay, dissolved state में आया है, ये टोटल कितना है? 100%. अब इस 100% का दो पोर्शन होता है, 97% and the 3%. 3% will remain in dissolved state. Remain in dissolved state. Okay? और इसको हम लोग बोल देते हैं क्या? Dissolved oxygen. Simple. And this will be in plasma. Got it? इससे क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है कि how much amount of oxygen is transported by plasma in the form of dissolved oxygen. The answer will be 3%. Okay? 3%. What about the 97%? The 97% of this oxygen, dissolved oxygen, will enter into the RBC, okay? And in the RBC, now it is going to combine with the hemoglobin, actually potassium hemoglobin, to form KHBO2, okay? And this KHBO2 is called oxyhemoglobin. Okay, जहाँ पे भी HB लिखूँ, it is hemoglobin. Got it? तो ये चीज़ याद रखिएगा कि when it comes to oxygen transport, 97% of oxygen is transported by the hemoglobin in the form of oxyhemoglobin, whereas remaining 3% is transported by the plasma in the dissolved form. ओके शिट याद रहेगा. So 3% in dissolved form, 97% in the form of oxyhemoglobin. Okay, oxyhemoglobin क्या है फॉर्मूला? KHBO2. Got it? बस इतना आप याद रखिएगा. Now what will happen to the CO2? देखो है ना, CO2 के बारे में हम बात करते हैं, वो भी इसी फेज में होगा, क्योंकि इसके बाद जब ये ऑक्सीजन से बाइंड कर जाएगा, ऑक्सी हीमोग्लोबिन हो जाएगा, देन ऑक्सी हीमोग्लोबिन इज रेड इन कलर एंड इट विल बी पार्ट ऑफ प्योर ब्लड. ग्रेट. एनीवे, व्हाट अबाउट द CO2? देखो CO2 सबसे अधिक कहाँ था? CO2 सबसे अधिक अगेन was in the deoxygenated blood. Okay, now जो भी CO2 है, CO2 in the human blood can be present in 3 forms. Number 1, dissolved CO2 in the plasma. This is how much? This is only 7%. Okay. Secondly, it can be transported by the hemoglobin in the form of कार्ब अमीनो हीमोग्लोबिन. ठीक है, कार्ब अमीनो हीमोग्लोबिन. सो इट इज समथिंग लाइक HHBNHCO2 है ना, सॉरी CO, जस्ट CO. ओके, तो ऐसा कुछ बनता है. दिस इज कॉल्ड कार्ब अमीनो हीमोग्लोबिन. ओके, and around 20 to 25% of CO2 is transported in the form of carbaminohemoglobin, while most of the CO2 is transported in the form of bicarbonate ion. In the form of bicarbonate ion, that is HCO3 minus ion. Okay, ये होता है. देखो इन द ब्लड क्या होगा? In the blood, the CO2 is transported either in this 3 forms, है ना, carbaminohemoglobin, dissolved CO2 और bicarbonate ion. ठीक है, कुछ और चीजें जान लो. वैसे आपको बहुत डिटेल में तो जानना नहीं है, इसलिए हम लोग बहुत डिटेल के बारे में बात यहाँ नहीं करेंगे. See how this bicarbonate ion is formed. This you have to see. CO2, which is gaseous, okay, it reacts with water, okay, and there is an enzyme. This enzyme is called carbonic anhydrase. Carbonic anhydrase, it converts it into H2CO3. This is carbonic acid. Since it is acid, it is going to dissociate to form HCO3 minus plus H plus ion, and this is what? The bicarbonate ion. And bicarbonate ion is dissolved in plasma. समझ में आ रहा? तो 97% is in the bicarbonate ion. Sorry, 70%. Around 70% of the CO2 is transported in the form of bicarbonate ion, and this is how this bicarbonate ion is formed. Okay? Great. कुछ और चीज़ आप लोग ध्यान रखिएगा. One thing. This carbonic anhydrase enzyme is one of the fastest enzymes, है ना? One of the fastest enzymes in the world. बड़ा fast enzyme है ये, बहुत जल्दी जल्दी अपना catalysis करता है. Great. So what we have seen so far is, we have seen how this exchange of gases occur, okay, and how they are transported, in what form. Great. देखो दो चीज और हम लोग यहाँ पे देखेंगे. एक देखेंगे at tissue and second situation देखेंगे at alveoli. देखो, at tissue what happens? At the tissue, suppose this is the blood vessel, okay, and these are the tissue cells, okay. So in the tissue cells there is aerobic respiration going on, aerobic respiration. As a result of that, CO2 is produced, O2 is consumed and CO2 is produced, correct? So glucose plus O2 is giving CO2 plus energy, correct? So this CO2 is produced and O2 is consumed. Now this CO2 diffuses out into this fluid called tissue fluid. ये सब क्या है? ये जो cells हैं इनके बाहर में खाली नहीं है, बल्कि it is filled with a fluid which is called tissue fluid. Okay? तो ये CO2 कहाँ आ गया है? Tissue fluid में. किस form में? Dissolved form में. And then from here, because here the CO2 is at a higher concentration, okay? Now this CO2 diffuses into the blood vessel, okay? In the blood, O2 is at higher level, so this is going to diffuse into the tissue space and from the tissue space into the cells, okay? So always this diffusion is indirect through the tissue cells, tissue fluid. Got it? Now, एक चीज याद रखिएगा कि ये ऑक्सीजन 97% of this oxygen is bound to hemoglobin, oxyhemoglobin form में है. तो at the tissue level what is required is this KHBO2 or oxyhemoglobin. This KHBO2 has to dissociate so this KHBO2 has to dissociate to liberate oxygen, and then this oxygen is going to diffuse out of the blood vessels into the tissue, okay? चल रही है. Oh, God, this is difficult. Okay, so डिस्प्ले ऑन कीजिए. Okay guys, do let me know if you are getting the proper stream. So what we were saying is, at the tissue, the first thing that has to occur is this KHBO2 has to dissociate, okay, to give you, right? So this oxygen is then liberated in the gaseous form, and then this oxygen diffuses out into the tissue. Correct? Now, this dissociation is called oxygen dissociation. Okay? ये एक कॉम्प्लेक्स एक ग्राफ बनता है O2 डिसोसिएशन कर्व का, है ना, जो आपको नहीं पढ़ना है, बट अगेन दिस इज नॉट अ लीनियर थिंग. ओके, दिस is going to give you a sigmoid curve. So it is a non-linear phenomena. This is non-linear phenomena, oxygen dissociation, and it is catalyzed by, yaad rakhna, it is catalyzed by, number one, high temperature, high CO2, okay, or acidity, that is high H plus ion concentration. Okay, so if because of any reason in the body or in the blood, I should say, if the H plus ion concentration is going to increase, or there is an increase in the temperature as we experience during fever, or if we for any reason have higher CO2 concentration or bicarbonate ion in our body, it is going to induce this non-linear dissociation of oxygen, that is more oxygen will be released into the tissue. Got it? So that the oxygen stress can be overcome. तो ये सब कुछ phenomena होता है, बाद में हम लोग पढ़ेंगे कभी, या फिर 11th में in detail पढ़ना होता है, आप लोग के लिए इतना ज़रूरी नहीं है, तो इसके बारे में हम बात नहीं कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे. Got it? बस ये याद रखिएगा कि if there is higher temperature or increase in CO2 concentration in the body, or there is increase in the acidity of the blood, these all are going to induce a faster breathing rate. This is all going to induce a faster breathing rate. Got it? Chalo. Now let us look at something else that is called breathing rates. है ना, ये भी देख लीजिए, कई बार पूछा जाता है. The normal breathing rate, okay, normal breathing rate is around 12 to 20 breaths per minute. याद रखना ये 12 to 20 breaths per minute. This is a normal. Great. It can increase in the breathing rate is caused because of the high H plus concentration, high temperature, or high CO2. Okay? Decrease usually because of the low metabolism. When you are sleeping, when you are resting, then you are breathing slowly, what? The breathing rate decreases. Now the question is, who controls the breathing rate? याद रखिएगा. Breathing rate is controlled by pons varolii, है ना, which is in our brain. Brain में भी कहाँ? It is part of hind brain. Okay, याद रखिएगा. So pons varoli में there is a center, okay, जिसको कि हम लोग बोलते हैं pneumotaxic center, okay, we call it pneumotaxic center, okay. This is also known as respiratory center of our brain, and it controls the breathing rate. ठीक है? So this is all we had to study. इससे अधिक हम लोग breathing के बारे में बात नहीं करेंगे. यहाँ तक अगर आप लोगों को कोई भी doubt है, do let me know. Any doubts so far? Do let me know. Any doubts? Okay, so this was all we had to study during in breathing and exchange of gases. Now let's look at the circulatory system. Okay. देखो, सर्कुलेटरी सिस्टम का एक ही फंक्शन होता है, ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑफ फंक्शन इज transportation. Okay, the whole purpose of circulatory system in our body is transportation. Okay, transportation of what? Transportation of number one, nutrients. Number two, waste products. Number three, things like hormones. Okay, minerals. Fourth, transportation of molecules like drugs. Okay, so when we are talking of circulatory system, the whole function of circulatory system is mainly the transportation of material, all kind of materials throughout the body, and this also includes materials like respiratory gases. Okay, respiratory gases, that is O2 and CO2. समझ में आ रहा है? So when we are talking of circulation, basically the main function is transportation. Now, who does it? Okay, let me check. So Akhil has this doubt, sir, if question comes, what percentage of CO2 is present in plasma? Akhil, the question will be exclusively asked if what percentage of CO2 is present in dissolved state in plasma. Then it is around 6 to 7%. If as bicarbonate ion, then it is 70%. Okay, and if it is the carb amino hemoglobin, then it is 20 to 25%. Okay, so you have to look at the options. That also is going to give you an idea key what they are trying to ask. Okay, yeah. Mostly if they are just saying that in plasma, you write 3%. Okay? If they are asking through the, in the form of bicarbonate ion, you write 70%. Okay. तो सर्कुलेटरी सिस्टम का मेन फंक्शन आपको समझ में आ रहा है, राइट? नाउ हु डज इट? देखो, सर्कुलेशन इज डन बाय circulation, है ना? Circulation is done by circulatory fluid. It is done by circulatory fluid, okay? And this fluid can be different things. Like, देखो, I'm going to give you some idea. This circulatory fluid can be external water, है ना? As we see in case of some lower organisms like porifera, okay, or coelenterata, or in case of ctenophora, or in case of echinodermata. Okay, so these are some organisms where the circulation is done by external water. So outside water, they are marine organisms. The sea water flows into their body. Okay, there is some system, there are some canals, okay, and then they do the circulation in their body, and during that they transport the materials required. Great. So ये आपको बहुत ज़्यादा जानना नहीं है, बस मैं एक ओवरव्यू दे रहा हूँ आप लोगों की अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए. बट KVPY में ऐसे क्वेश्चंस कभी नहीं पूछे जाएंगे, सो नीड नॉट टू बॉदर अबाउट देम. एक्सटर्नल वाटर के बाद क्या हो सकता है? देयर कुड बी body fluids. Okay, there could be body fluids, and these body fluids again can be of different types, like somewhere like parenchymal tissue or parenchymal fluid, somewhere it could be body cavity fluid. Again ये सब कुछ आपको lower organism में मिलता है, इसीलिए इसके बारे में भी हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा बात नहीं करेंगे. Now, apart from these two, the body fluids can also be blood or lymph. Okay, and this is what we have to really study: blood and lymph. Great. So mostly in the higher organisms, in higher animals, the circulation is done by either the blood or the lymph. Okay. And we mainly have to focus about these two. Let's talk about the blood. Now, when we are talking of blood, blood has two components. ध्यान से देखिएगा. First one is called blood plasma. It is the fluidic portion of the blood, okay? And this is going to form the 55% of total blood volume. ठीक है? So total blood volume का कितना प्लाज्मा होता है? 55%. Okay? So majority में कौन होता है? Plasma. And plasma is the fluidic portion. That's why blood is a fluidic tissue. Got it? Now, what is pH? pH is 7.4. What is taste? If we are talking about taste, it is salty. What about color? Color of plasma is pale yellow. It is pale yellow. Great. When we are talking about composition, किसका बना हुआ है ये? If we are talking of composition, it is made up of water. How much? More than 92%. More than 92% it is water. Then what is remaining around 8%? Remaining 8% contains proteins. Just a minute. Proteins are around 6%. Okay. Then you have carbohydrate, you have minerals, you have respiratory gases, hormones, rest all in the remaining part. समझ में आ रहा है? तो when we are talking of blood plasma, it is mainly composed of water and proteins. Got it? Now, if we are talking about the plasma proteins, देखते चलिएगा. If we are talking of plasma proteins, these plasma proteins mainly have certain proteins like albumins, like albumin. ठीक है, देखो ये जो एल्बुमिन है ना, इसको हम लोग एक स्पेशल टर्म देते हैं. वी कॉल इट सीरम एल्बुमिन. वी कॉल इट सीरम एल्बुमिन. इसको ओनली एल्बुमिन नहीं कह करके हम लोग को क्या कहना चाहिए? सीरम एल्बुमिन. ओके, एंड इट इज द मोस्ट abundant plasma protein. Most abundant. Got it? What is its role? What is the function of this serum albumin? The function is it maintains osmolarity. Maintains osmolarity. है ना, मतलब आपका प्लाज्मा का जो कॉन्सेंट्रेशन है उसको कंट्रोल करने का काम कौन करता है? मेनली सीरम एल्बुमिन. Got it? The main function, most abundant protein. What are other proteins? The other proteins consists of fibrinogen. किस में हेल्प करता है? It helps in clotting. Helps in blood clotting. यहाँ पे सिर्फ clotting में लिख रहा हूँ. Okay? What are other plasma proteins? The other plasma proteins mainly include the immunoglobulins. What? Immunoglobulins, है ना, इनको शॉर्ट में हम लिखते हैं IG. I for immuno and small g for globulin. IG, है ना, and these IG are also famously known as antibodies. These are antibodies जिसको शॉर्ट में हम लिखते हैं AB. Okay, and these immunoglobulins can be of 5 different types. That is, it can be either IgA, IgD, IgE, IgG, or it can be IgM. Okay, so these are 5 different types of antibodies, and these all are present in the plasma. Got it? I hope यहाँ तक आप लोगों को कोई डाउट नहीं होनी चाहिए. So this was blood plasma, the majority portion of the blood, right? 55% of the total blood volume. Great. Let's see. Now, if we are looking at the second component, okay, if we are looking at the second component of the blood, it is nothing but the blood cells. Okay, जिनको कि हम लोग corpuscles भी बोलते हैं. Blood cells or corpuscles. Great. Let's see what these corpuscles are. Blood cells or corpuscles. Okay. Now, these are mainly of 3 types, as most of you may be knowing already. These are called RBC, red blood corpuscle, या red blood cell, है ना? WBC, white blood corpuscle, या white blood cell, and the third one is known as platelets. Right? Now, RBC, red blood cell या red blood corpuscle का दूसरा नाम भी है, that is erythrocyte. Okay? Similarly, the WBC also has a different name, that is leukocyte. Leuko का मतलब होता है white और cyte का मतलब होता है cell. So white cell. Erythro का मतलब होता है red. Cyte का मतलब cell. Red cell, right? And platelet का भी एक दूसरा नाम है. We call it thrombocytes. Okay? So these are the 3 different type of blood cells or corpuscles. Now let's focus on each one of them one by one. Okay? Now when we are looking at RBC or erythrocytes, let's see. What about the number? Number. Around 5.5 million per cc of blood. ठीक है, तो 5.5 million cells are there, RBC, and these are the most numerous. And imagine a bottle, है ना, आप लोगों ने घर में डेकोरेटिव पीसेस देखे होंगे, बॉटल्स, उनके अंदर छोटे 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 ऐसे हम लोग बॉल्स भर देते हैं, ग्लास बॉल्स या फिर वो वाटर में सोक किए हुए बॉल्स, करेक्ट. इफ you put a multicolor balls, है ना, some white color and some red color, got it. Now if red color balls are in great number, as you can see in RBC, the whole bottle will appear red in color. Okay, this is what happens in case of blood. In case of blood, the red color of blood is due to the RBC, है ना. Why? Because RBC is the most abundant cell, है ना. तो plasma is pale yellow, transparent है, and आपका जो RBC है that is in very large number, and as a result the whole blood appears red. समझ में आ रहा है? मजे की बात यह है कि ब्लड में RBC को छोड़ करके बाकी सब कुछ ऑलमोस्ट या तो वाइट है या कलरलेस है. समझ में आ रहा है? बट सिंस RBC is in such a great number that it makes the whole thing look red. Okay, so number is this much. What about shape? If we are talking about shape of RBC, see, if you look from the top, RBC looks like this, like a disc. If you look from the sidewise, it looks something like this. Okay? समझ में आ रहा है? तो ऊपर से देखा तो ऐसा है, लेकिन ये कैसे है? ऊपर से ये ऐसा है कुछ. तो बीच में यहाँ पे क्या है? गड्ढा है, थोड़ा सा डिप्रेशन है, both from the top and the bottom. So it is kind of concave from the either top or the bottom side. So this is biconcave, this is biconcave and discoid. ठीक है? So if we are talking about the shape, it is discoid and biconcave. Okay? Let's talk about the dimensions. Dimensions की बात करेंगे हम लोग. तो RBC का यहाँ से यहाँ तक is around 7.5 micrometer. Okay. If we are talking about the largest maximum thickness, it is around 2 to 3 micrometer, and the minimum thickness here, it is 1.5. 1 to 1.5 micrometer. Got it? So this is the size of RBC. Chalo. This is the size. Size के बारे में बात हो गई. Let's talk about. So we have number, we have size, we have also done the shape. Okay. Color की अगर हम लोग बात करें तो obviously it appears red in color, and why? Because of hemoglobin. Correct? Okay. If we are talking about the function of RBC, what is the function? Number one is the transport of O2, and number two, transport of CO2. ठीक है? तो RBC के फंक्शन में दोनों याद रखिएगा, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ ऑक्सीजन एज वेल एज दी CO2. ओके. नाउ मेनली किसका करता है? ऑक्सीजन का. कितना? 97%. CO2 का ट्रांसपोर्ट ओनली 20 to 25%. But it is doing both of the transportation or transportation of both of the respiratory gases, that is O2 and CO2. Great. Okay. Now since we are talking about RBC, let's also talk about hemoglobin. See, hemoglobin. Short में हम लोग इसको क्या लिखते हैं? HB, right? If we are looking at hemoglobin, it is a large protein. It is a large protein which is composed of two parts. One called proteinaceous part, and second is non-proteinaceous. Okay, what is the proteinaceous part and non-proteinaceous part? Look, the non-proteinaceous part is represented by heme group. Okay, and this heme group has two things. Number one is porphyrin head, and second is Fe2 plus ion. Okay, now this porphyrin head, okay, this porphyrin head is actually made up of 4 pyrrole rings. इतना याद आपको नहीं रखना है. This porphyrin head has 4 pyrrole rings. बस आपको समझाने के लिए बता रहा हूँ मैं ये. और हर एक इस रिंग पे एक एक आयरन है. So there is overall 4 Fe2 plus ions in the heme group. ठीक है, तो heme group में एक आपका porphyrin head है and there are 4 iron groups. Iron ions. Okay, Fe2 plus. Got it? Ferrous ions. When we are talking of the proteinaceous part, now this is made up of 2 type of proteins. 2 alpha chains and 2 beta chains. समझ में आ रहा है? तो 2 अल्फा चेन है, 2 बीटा चेन है और एक हीम ग्रुप है. समझ में आ रहा है? So if we have to visualize hemoglobin, how it is going to be? See, let me take blue for the alpha chain. Okay, so this is something like this. This is one alpha chain. This is the another alpha chain. Red as the beta chain. Okay, and I'm using purple for the heme group. So there are these heme groups here. Here are the iron, and there is a particular heme group sitting here. समझ में आ रहा है? So this is how a hemoglobin looks like. This is a simple depiction. Now let me tell you that every iron can bind with one oxygen. So there is one O2, second O2, third O2, and fourth O2. Got it? So one hemoglobin can bind with 4 O2 molecules to form oxyhemoglobin. याद रखिएगा. So one hemoglobin can carry maximum of 4 O2 molecules. I'm not saying 4 oxygen atoms, है ना? Please pay attention. Hemoglobin transports oxygen in its molecular form, O2, not the O atom. Okay? Nascent oxygen is very reactive. You know that from chemistry. Great? So this is how it goes. Now, if we look at the numerical values, 1 gram of HB is going to carry 1.34 ml of oxygen. ठीक है, याद रखिएगा इस चीज को. Okay, so 1 gram of HB is going to carry 1.34 ml of O2, and 100 ml of blood have around 14 to 15 grams of HB. Okay, therefore if we are talking of if we are talking of 100 ml of blood, it can carry around 20 ml of oxygen. ठीक है, ध्यान रखना इस चीज को आप लोग. That's it. Okay. So this was briefly about the hemoglobin. Now one more interesting fact, let me tell you. Since हम लोगों ने already breathing and exchange of gases कर लिया है, तो यहाँ पे मैं आपको बता देता हूँ. 100 ml of blood, right? This is going to carry 20 ml of O2. कहाँ से कहाँ? This is from lungs to tissues. Carry किया, right? Now in tissues what happens, it only gives out, only releases 25% of its O2. सिर्फ 25% रिलीज करता है, यानी कि it only supplies 5 ml of O2 to tissues in normal condition, obviously, है ना? This all is in normal conditions. ठीक है? So in normal conditions, though 100 ml of your blood is carrying 20 ml of oxygen, it only delivers 5 ml of oxygen. Remaining 15 ml, it takes it back along to the lungs. समझ में आ रहा है? तो ऑक्सीजन डिसोसिएशन कर्व आपको पढ़ना नहीं है, वरना मैं आपको बताता कि ये सब कुछ होता है because of the oxygen dissociation curve, which is proportional to the PO2 values. Okay, so Sweta has some doubt. Sir, if carboxy hemoglobin is formed, then 100 ml of blood. Shweta, number 1, कार्बोक्सी हीमोग्लोबिन नहीं बनता है, वहाँ पे कार्ब अमीनो हीमोग्लोबिन बनता है. अगर कार्बोक्सी बन जाएगा तो वो कुछ कैरी नहीं करेगा. क्यों? कार्बोक्सी हीमोग्लोबिन इज फॉर्म्ड व्हेन हीमोग्लोबिन बाइंड्स विद कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड, है ना? सिंस यू हैव ब्रॉट इट अप, लेट मी टेल यू दैट एज वेल. देखो, हीमोग्लोबिन का 3 फेट हो सकता है. ओके, इफ दिस हीमोग्लोबिन HB combines with oxygen, it forms oxyhemoglobin. Okay, if this hemoglobin binds with CO2, it forms carb amino hemoglobin, and if this HB binds with CO, अच्छा ये सब कुछ क्या है? रिवर्सिबल प्रोसेस है. लेकिन अगर CO से बाइंड करेगा तो ये प्रोसेस ऐसा है. Got it? So I have purposefully drawn a very small arrow here. So largely it is irreversible process, है ना? Forward reaction का rate बहुत अधिक है. ठीक है? This forms the carboxy HB. Got it? Okay. Now the question that you are asking I can understand, Susweta, but unfortunately we don't have a value for it. At least I don't know, and nowhere we find it in the textbooks. Okay, that 100 ml of deoxygenated blood carries how much amount of CO2, or how much amount of CO2 is actually transports back to the lung for diffusion. I don't have that value. What I can do, I can see and will let you know. Great. So ये चीज़ आप लोग ध्यान रखेंगे. But again, don't worry about those values because nowhere it is going to be asked. ठीक है? So this is about hemoglobin. Now after hemoglobin, so we were looking at the blood and the blood cells, and in that regard we also came to the hemoglobin. Yes, that does. In fact, even the oxygen values differ. It depends on your physiological activity. It depends on the oxygen pressure. It depends on the altitude, है ना? तो बहुत सारे physiological and the atmospheric values दोनों पे ये depend करते हैं. Great. Coming to the white blood cell now. Okay, so let's talk about the WBC. RBC हम लोगों ने देख लिया है. अब हम बात करेंगे WBC की. WBC को हमने क्या बोला था? Leukocytes. Why we called it leukocytes? Because they appear white. They appear white. Great. Now what is the main role of the अच्छा उससे पहले नंबर की हम लोग बात कर लेते हैं, है ना? If we are talking about number of WBCs, it is going to range anywhere between 6,000 to up to 8,000 per cc of blood. Okay, per cc of blood. Great. What about the shape of WBCs? The shape can be from spherical to up to irregular or amoeboid, है ना. हम लोग देखेंगे अलग अलग शेप होते हैं. Okay, color, you know, number, shape, size की अगर हम लोग बात करें, that is also variable. Okay, let's look at different type of WBCs. These things will be clear then. So if we are looking at the WBCs, WBCs can be of different types. What are these? Mainly they are classified into two groups called granulocytes and agranulocytes. Okay, granulocytes because they have granules in their cytoplasm, and as a result of it they get stained very easily. Okay, so that's why we call them granulocytes, and depending on they are being stained by which kind of dye, they can be of three types, that is acidophil if they get stained easily by the acidic dye, or basophil if they get stained by the basic dye, and neutrophil if they get stained by both acidic and basic dye. Got it? Now see, acidophil are also known as eosinophils. Why? Because they get stained by acidic dye. Okay, acidic dye, और इस डाई का नाम क्या है? Eosin. समझ में आ रहा है? इसीलिए नाम क्या पड़ गया? Eosinophil. Got it? And if they are being stained by acidic dye, they are going to appear red in color. Great. What is the function? The main function of the acidophil is they are phagocytic. They are phagocytic cells. Got it? Okay. Now, what is the percentage of acidophils in the WBC? Yes, these things were in your 9th biology. If you remember, then nothing like that. But unfortunately, most of the students don't. Okay. Mostly it is around 2 to 3%. Okay. Basophil are stained by the basic dye. Okay. Basic dye like methionine blue, methylene blue. Okay. And when they are turned, they are stained by basic dye, they turn blue in color. कैसे होंगे ये? Blue color के. Great. Percentage, they are the minimum in number, around 0.5%. What is the function? They are going to secrete three things, है ना? यहाँ पे मैं लिख देता हूँ. अगर हम लोग basophil के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, तो basophil secretes three very important chemicals. Number 1, serotonin. Number 2, heparin. And number 3, histamine. Okay? Now, what is the function of these three chemicals? Histamine is a vasodilator. It is a vasodilator. अब आप बोलोगे कि ये क्या होता है? See, vasodilator, vaso is for vessel, blood vessel. Dilation, you know, to increase the lumen diameter. Got it? So, if there is a secretion of histamine, it is going to increase the lumen size of the blood vessels, so there will be more blood flow, and this has a particular relevance in inflammatory response. Got it? So, histamine is going to help in the inflammatory response. Sushweta, okay, I'm coming back to your query. Just hold for a second. Similarly, if we are talking about serotonin, it is a vasoconstrictor. ये क्या है? Vasoconstrictor. So when this molecule is released by the basophil, it is going to decrease the lumen. Okay, it is going to decrease the lumen size. As a result, the pressure is going to increase. The blood pressure is going to increase. Heparin is anticoagulant. Heparin is an anticoagulant, so that the blood flowing in your blood vessels won't coagulate inside your body. Okay? अगर हेपेरिन नहीं होगा तो क्या होगा? ब्लड आपके बॉडी के अंदर ब्लड वेसल्स में ही कोएगुलेट हो जाएगा. Then they can't flow and the person has to die. Got it? So heparin. So basophil secretes these three molecules: heparin, histamine, and serotonin. I hope that is clear. Now coming back to the Susweta's doubt. सुस्वेता stained का मतलब होता है कलर करना, ठीक है? So when we try to see things or cells in the microscope, we firstly stain them with some color, okay, so that it is easier to distinguish different type of cells under the microscope. Okay, so we stain them, and this staining is dependent on both the dye and the type of cell, है ना? एक स्टेन से आप हर तरह के सेल को नहीं कलर कर सकते हो. बेसिकली स्टेनिंग को आप कलर की तरह समझो. Okay, so this is basophil. What about neutrophils? Neutrophils can be stained by both acidic and basic dye, okay, and they, after being stained by both acidic and basic dye, they turn yellow. They turn yellow. Okay. Now, neutrophils are the most abundant cells. Are the most abundant cells. How many? Around 60 to 65%. Okay. What is the main function? The main function is they are again phagocytic. They are also phagocytic. Got it? So these are the three type of granulocytes. What about the agranulocytes? Agranulocytes are further divided into two, that is monocytes and the lymphocytes. Okay, now monocytes, they further matures, they are going to mature into what? Macrophages. Into macrophage, which are your main phagocytic cells. Okay, what about lymphocytes? Lymphocytes are again divided into two types, that is B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. Okay, now if we are talking about B and T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes are the one who produce antibody. क्या produce करते हैं? Antibody. IgG, IgM, IgD, A, E, ये सब कौन produce करता है? B lymphocytes. Okay? Yup. So यहाँ तक आप लोगों को कोई doubt है? Do let me know. Now let me tell you again. Monocytes are around 6 to 7%, and 20 to 25% is your lymphocytes. Okay, again this number is not very much of relevance for you all, but ध्यान रखो, एक understanding बनी रहती है. Okay, so this is different type of WBCs. Now one thing is left is about the shape of these lymphocytes, but again not very important. देख लो, थोड़ा सा आपको बता देता हूँ. असिडोफिल के बारे में अगर हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, if we are talking about acidophil, acidophil का सेल कुछ ऐसा दिखता है. This is the cell, this is the nucleus, so this has granules in the cytoplasm. Okay, there are certain granules, और granules के बाद का जो cytoplasm है वो मैं blue से बना देता हूँ. Okay, now if you look at the nucleus, this nucleus is actually here bilobed. The nucleus is bilobed. Okay, तो कुछ ऐसा है nucleus. ऐसा न्यूक्लियस होता है. किसका? एसिडोफिल या इओसिनोफिल का. When we are talking about the basophil, it is something like this. Again, the cytoplasm will be granular. I'm not drawing it now. If we look at the nucleus, nucleus is something like this. Okay, so this is around 2 to 5, sorry, 2 to 3 lobed nucleus. Okay, यहाँ पे क्या है? Bilobed nucleus. Okay, now if we are talking about the neutrophils, okay, again it will be granular, the cytoplasm will be granular, वो आप लोग समझ लीजिएगा. And if we look at the nucleus, nucleus could be something like this. है ना? So it is multi-lobed. Multi-lobed nucleus, 2 to 5 lobes. Got it? Yes, ध्यान रखिएगा इस चीज को आप लोग. So these were different. Now आप लोग ये भी पूछ सकते हो कि मोनोसाइट और लिम्फोसाइट का आपने डायग्राम नहीं बनाया. Why it is so? Because their nucleus is not lobed. Okay, they have a large nucleus but it is not lobed. चलो दिखा देता हूँ थोड़ा सा आप लोगों को. अगर एक मोनोसाइट की बात करोगे तो कुछ ऐसा है और न्यूक्लियस इतना बड़ा है. Nucleus is large. Similarly in the lymphocytes, the nucleus is large. Okay, they have very large nucleus. Very prominent, conspicuous nucleus हम इसको बोलते हैं, because it is large and very prominent. So this is different type of blood cells, right? RBC, WBC, एक और बचा हुआ है. We are going to see that is called platelet. Platelet. We also call it thrombocytes, right? We also call it thrombocytes. Why? Because they help in formation of blood clot. Blood clot. मजे की बात देखो, क्लॉट को हम लोग थ्रोम्बस भी बोलते हैं. क्या बोलते हैं? थ्रोम्बस. आप समझ में आया कि नाम थ्रोम्बोसाइट क्यों पड़ा है ना? ब्लड क्लॉट को हम लोग थ्रोम्बस भी बोलते हैं. सो थ्रोम्बोसाइट. Great. Now, if we are talking about the number is around 1 to 2 lakh per cc of blood. Okay, thrombocytes का number कितना है? Few lakhs per cc of blood. Okay, अगर इसका number कम होता है ना, we especially see there are diseases like dengue जिसमें कि platelet count decreases considerably. ठीक है, but again उसके बारे में हम लोग यहाँ पे बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. What about shape? Shape is irregular. Shape is irregular. Okay. What about the nucleus? Nucleus के बारे में बात कर लेते हैं. They don't have nucleus. They don't have nucleus. कोई nucleus नहीं होता इनमें. Okay, that's why they don't have pretty long lifespan. Lifespan is only around 5 to 7 days. Okay, lifespan is only around 5 to 7 days. अच्छा, लाइफ स्पैन के बारे में ना मैं बताना आप लोग को भूल गया था, तो मैं आप लोग को अभी मैं वर्बली बता देता हूँ. RBC का लाइफ स्पैन 120 days. Okay, immature RBC that has nucleus, but mature RBC don't have nucleus. Got it? याद होगा आप लोगों को. You all have already studied these things. If we are talking about WBC, again the lifespan can vary from few days to few months. Okay, so different type of WBCs have different lifespan. When we are talking about platelets, their lifespan is typically less than a week. Got it? Okay, so this is platelet. Let's look at the function. Okay, जब हम लोग प्लेटलेट की बात कर रहे हैं ना, तो यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा हम लोग ब्लड क्लॉटिंग के बारे में भी बात कर ही लेते हैं, ठीक है। देखो प्लेटलेट क्या होता है ना, whenever there is injury site, whenever there is injury site, तो injury site पे क्या होता है, the injured platelet प्लस क्या होगा वहां पे, injured tissue, गॉट इट, दोनों चीजें होंगी वहां पे, injured platelets भी होंगे और injured tissues भी होंगे। नाउ दे डिफरेंटली, है ना, अलग अलग तरह के थ्रोम्बोप्लास्टिन का सिक्रीशन करते हैं, है ना, टिश्यू थ्रोम्बोप्लास्टिन एंड द प्लेटलेट थ्रोम्बोप्लास्टिन, बट उतना आपको नहीं जानना है, दे आर गोइंग टू सिक्रीट थ्रोम्बोप्लास्टिन, ओके। Akhil, what you are mentioning me is coming from some book or internet source, okay. 15 days RBC का life span is just an average number, okay. Different RBCs का life span can vary, it can even go to some months, ठीक है, so be clear about that. Thromboplastin, now this thromboplastin, okay, this is going to that is मैं कैसे आप लोगों को बताऊं, जस्ट अ मिनट, होल्ड ऑन। सबसे पहले ना मैं आप लोगों को बताता हूं कि क्लॉट कैसे होता है, एंड देन वी विल डू दैट, सी। तो फिर हम लोग बैक ड्राइंग करेंगे, आपको ज़्यादा अच्छे से समझ में आएगा। व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ब्लड क्लॉट, ओके, ब्लड क्लॉट, सो ब्लड क्लॉट इज नथिंग बट इट इज अ मेशवर्क, ठीक है, ऐसा कुछ नेटवर्क बन जाता है और इसके ऊपर आपके जो सेल्स हैं वो आकर के, डिफरेंट सेल्स आकर के क्या होता है, अटैच हो जाते हैं, okay, and because of this it forms a clot. So this thing is called a clot, this entire thing is called clot, and it prevents further blood loss, okay. If we look at normal blood clotting time, blood clotting time, it is around 2 to 3 minutes, ठीक है, तो averagely the blood should form a clot within 2 to 3 minutes, okay. Now if you look at this clot, you have two things, so this clot has two things. What are these? First one is a fibrine meshwork, right, जो कि white से मैंने बनाया था, और दूसरा क्या था, दूसरा is your blood cells. तो blood cells you know कि वो आकर के trap हो गया, that's fine. How this fibrine meshwork is formed? This fibrine meshwork is formed of fibrine. It is formed because of the fibrine. अब ये fibrine blood में कहाँ से आता है? It is a question. See, there is a protein in your blood called fibrinogen, right? This fibrinogen is a globular protein and soluble protein. It is soluble and globular protein, okay. Now this fibrinogen, okay, is converted into fibrine, and this fibrine is a insoluble and filamentous protein. समझ में आ रहा है? तो जहां फाइब्रिनोजेन कुछ ऐसा प्रोटीन था और ये सॉल्युबल था, मतलब पूरी तरह से प्लाज्मा में डिसॉल्व हो गया था, इट वाज नॉट विजिबल, द फाइब्रिन is opens up and it forms something like this, got it? तो fibrinogen is converted into fibrine like strands, ठीक है? Okay, great. So Akhil is saying कि आप लोगों को ये पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट याद है. Very good. अगर याद है then we are skipping it, है ना. बस आप लोग ये चीज़ ध्यान रखिएगा. ऐसे क्वेश्चंस होते हैं. Just keep in mind. So this is your blood clotting and the blood cells के बारे में हमने बात कर ली थी. Now let's talk about the circulation. How this blood is circulated in your body. Okay. So अगर हम लोग circulatory network की बात करते हैं ना, so our circulatory network is something like this. Here you have heart. Right? You have the human heart, and from this heart arises certain okay, and this goes to your lungs. Okay, देखते रहिएगा बस अब आप लोग. Okay, from this lungs arises okay. देखते चलिए आप लोग. Yeah. Okay, so see, if you look at this diagram, this is your circulatory system. देखो यहाँ पे क्या हुआ है कि blood, okay, blood is moving from heart to lungs. See, अगर आप लोग को याद हो, this is called right auricle, this is right ventricle, this is left auricle, this is left ventricle. Okay, now the right auricle receives the impure blood from all over the body. Okay, so right auricle receives impure blood, Hana, and it receives impure blood via 3 veins. Okay, what are these? Number 1 is called inferior vena cava. Number 2 is called superior vena cava. And number 3 is called the coronary sinus. Okay, so there are 3 openings through which the right auricle receives impure blood from the body, from the different parts of the body. Now, what gives what? See, coronary sinus brings the impure blood from the heart muscles. Superior vena cava draws the impure blood from all the body parts which are above the heart level. Okay, ऊपर से head, neck and upper shoulder region. The inferior vena cava pulls up the impure blood from rest of the lower body and pours into the right auricle. तो right auricle में क्या आ गया आपका? Impure blood. Now this impure blood from the right auricle it goes into the right ventricle via a valve, जो कि हम लोग हार्ट के स्ट्रक्चर में देखेंगे. ठीक है, कहाँ आ गया? राइट वेंट्रिकल में. राइट वेंट्रिकल से फाइनली ये जो आपका इम्प्योर ब्लड है वो कहाँ चला गया? इनटू द लंग्स. ओके, नाउ यहाँ पे जो जाता है दिस इज कॉल्ड अ पल्मोनरी आर्टरी. जो भी यहाँ पे रेड में है वो आर्टरी है. एंड दिस इज एन एक्सेप्शन बिकॉज this being this artery it carries impure blood, not the pure blood, है ना? ये आप लोग याद रखना. Then in the lungs, you know what is happening? Exchange of gases at the alveoli, correct? Or exchange of gases होने की वजह से now impure blood will be transformed into pure blood. Then this pure blood is carried away. This pure blood is carried to the heart via this pulmonary veins. Again ये एक exception है. It is a vein but it carries pure blood. ठीक है, कहाँ आ गया? This is coming into the left auricle. Left auricle से ये कहाँ चला आया? Left ventricle. And then left ventricle से it goes all through the body. समझ में आ रहा है? So this completes the circuit. Now if you look closely there are two circuits. One circuit is between the heart and the lung, right? This is called pulmonary circuit. Sorry. This is called pulmonary circuit. या इसी को हम लोग बोलते हैं pulmonary circulation. Okay? And this is called systemic circuit. या इसी को हम लोग बोल देते हैं systemic circulation. Okay? Now, if you look closely, the blood, this blood, if it has to pass once through your body, it is passing twice through the heart. एक बार इधर right auricle, right ventricle में आया, फिर कहाँ गया? Lungs में, फिर वापस कहाँ आया? Left auricle, left ventricle, और फिर आया पूरी बॉडी में. तो एक बार बॉडी में ब्लड को फ्लो करने के लिए इट हैज टू पास ट्वाइस थ्रू द हार्ट, है ना? वंस ड्यूरिंग द पल्मोनरी सर्किट, थ्रू द पल्मोनरी सर्किट, एंड सेकेंडली थ्रू द सिस्टेमिक सर्किट. इसीलिए हम इस सर्कुलेशन को क्या बोलते हैं? डबल सर्कुलेशन. वी कॉल इट double circulation. So humans have double circulation. Okay, all those organisms who have four-chambered heart have double circulation. Who are they? These are birds and mammals. And since they have double circulation, they have circulation of only the pure blood, or इसीलिए these all are what? Warm-blooded, not the cold-blooded. Okay, so this we will see in the next class, है ना? Mostly वहाँ पे ये चैप्टर खत्म हो जाएगा और हम लोग excretion वाला चैप्टर भी रिवाइज कर लेंगे. Great. Okay, so this is all for today, and do let me know if you guys have any doubt in understanding any of these concepts. Okay, these are pretty familiar ones. You have already seen in class 10th. So उसी को हम लोग थोड़ा ज़्यादा elaborate कर रहे हैं. We are covering some aspects of 11th as well, so that if at all there are questions in the KVPY, you can easily do it. Okay, so do let me know if you guys have any doubt. No, not at all. Birds are warm-blooded. Birds and mammals, warm-blooded. Okay, so birds and mammals are the only organisms on this planet who are warm-blooded. Rest all are cold-blooded. Blood clot in brain can be formed due to some injury, okay, or because of certain physiological disorders. So Sweta, okay. Now physiological disorders की तो बात अलग ही हो जाती है. हाँ, mostly it is formed due to certain injury, है ना, mechanical injury to the brain, most of the times, and it is very fatal because it can lead to stroke. Yeah, stroke and then death. Stroke में क्या होता है कि the clot in the particular blood vessel in your brain, if that vessel is occluded, मान लो ऐसे देखो यहाँ पे, suppose करो कि ये आपका brain है, okay? ये रीज़न है, यहाँ पे एक ब्लड वेसल था, ओके, और यहाँ पे क्लॉट बन गया, तो इधर से तो ब्लड आया, इधर ब्लड नहीं पहुँचा ना, तो इस एरिया का जो ब्रेन है इसको ब्लड सप्लाई नहीं मिलेगी, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ नो ब्लड सप्लाई इट विल स्टार्ट टू डाई, और अगर जब ये मरेगा तो इसका फंक्शन हिंडर होगा, एंड दिस विल लीड टू स्ट्रोक। इसकी वजह से क्या होगा? स्ट्रोक होता है। समझ में आया? ओके, ग्रेट। So this is it. We will meet again in the next lecture, and for your test we will be asking questions till what all we have covered in this class. ठीक है? तो आज क्लास में हम लोगों ने जितना कुछ कवर किया है वो सब आपके क्वेश्चन में होगा। Great. So all the best. Keep learning, and whenever you have time, try to go through this class 11 biology book. That is going to help a lot. Okay? I'm not saying giving a lot of time, but yeah, at least keep turning the pages. Okay? Keep having a glance on what the class 11 biology have to offer you. Okay? Okay, great. See you in the next class. Thank you very much.